The Invisible Girl's Revenge. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold, it's served with a smile, a glass of champagne, and receipts dating back 15 years. I watched the stunned faces around me, my heart hammering in my chest as the realization began to dawn on them. Who I was. What I knew. And just how thoroughly I'd planned this moment. 3 hours earlier, I'd stood outside the banquet hall of the Westfield Grand Hotel, gripping my invitation so tightly the edges crumpled. The elegant cream paper with its gold embossing announced Meadowbrook High School, 15-year reunion in flowing script that belied the hellscape those halls had been for me. My therapist had called my decision to attend an opportunity for closure. My best friend called it a chance to show those assholes how far you've come. But deep down, I knew what it really was, the culmination of 15 years of plotting. I smoothed down my black designer dress, a far cry from the ill-fitting thrift store clothes I'd worn back then, and touched the diamond pendant at my throat. The transformation was complete. Ashley Wilson, once the awkward, acne-riddled target of Meadowbrook's elite social circle, was now unrecognizable. Gone was the greasy hair, the hunched shoulders, the desperate desire to disappear. In her place stood a successful publishing executive with clear skin, confidence, and most importantly, a memory like a steel trap. I hadn't just survived high school, I'd documented it. Every taunt, every joke, every humiliation meticulously recorded in journals I'd kept hidden beneath my mattress. What began as a coping mechanism had evolved into something else entirely, ammunition. "Ma'am? Would you like me to take your coat?" The young attendant's voice pulled me back to the present. "Thank you," I replied, handing over my designer trench. I caught my reflection in the mirrored wall of the hotel lobby, shoulder-length chestnut hair styled in loose waves, makeup understated but flawless. Nothing like the greasy Wilson they'd nicknamed me. My stomach lurched with a familiar anxiety, but I pushed it down. Tonight wasn't about fear. It was about balance. Taking a deep breath, I walked into the ballroom. The reunion committee had gone all out. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over round tables draped in white linen. A banner proclaiming "Welcome Home, Meadowbrook Mustangs," hung over a small stage where a DJ was setting up. A bar in the corner was already doing brisk business as former classmates clutched drinks like shields against the awkwardness of forced nostalgia. I made my way to the check-in table, where a woman with an overly enthusiastic smile handed me a name tag. "Welcome. And you are?" "Ashley Wilson," I said, watching her face for any sign of recognition. There was none. Just a bright smile as she scanned her list. "Ashley Wilson. Here you are. Not many people from your class have arrived yet, but please help yourself to a drink and mingle." I nodded my thanks and drifted toward the bar, ordering a gin and tonic I had no intention of finishing. The liquid courage wasn't necessary. I'd rehearsed this night too many times in my head to need alcohol's assistance now. Scanning the room, I spotted my first target. Megan Phillips, now Megan Devereaux according to her name tag, stood near the photo display, champagne flute in hand. She was still beautiful, her blonde hair now cut into a sophisticated bob, designer clothes hugging a figure maintained by what I knew, thanks to social media, was a combination of Pilates and a personal chef. She had been the queen bee of Meadowbrook, the ringleader who had orchestrated some of my worst moments, like the charity project. I felt my jaw clench at the memory. Junior year, Megan had approached me in the cafeteria, all smiles and sudden friendship. She'd invited me to sit with her group, told me they wanted to give me a makeover for the upcoming spring fling dance. "Everyone deserves to feel beautiful," she'd said, her blue eyes wide with false sincerity. For one humiliating week, I believed her. I believed them until the day of the dance, when I showed up at Megan's house as instructed, only to find no one home. I waited on her porch for 2 hours before walking home in tears. The following Monday, pictures circulated of Megan and her friends at the mall during my wait, laughing about their charity case, who was too pathetic to realize when she's being played. Now, 15 years later, Megan was laughing with 2 other women I recognized as former cheerleaders. I approached slowly, positioning myself within earshot. And then Connor says to me, "Mommy, why does that lady's face look funny?" I was mortified. Megan was saying, her laughter tinkling like expensive crystal. Her companions giggled dutifully. I waited for a pause before stepping forward. Megan? Megan Phillips? She turned, her professional smile already in place. It's Devereaux now, but yes. Her eyes scanned my face, searching for recognition and finding none. Ashley Wilson, I supplied, watching as confusion flickered across her features. We had AP English together senior year. And of course, you invited me to your house before spring fling junior year. The confusion gave way to dawning horror, quickly masked by social grace. Ashley. Wow, you look different. So I've been told, I smiled, taking a sip of my drink. Congratulations on your skincare line. Authentic Beauty is quite the brand name. Thank you. Her relief at the change of subject was palpable. We just secured distribution in Nordstrom, actually. I've always believed beauty should be accessible to everyone. Everyone? I echoed, my tone innocent. That's a change from high school, isn't it? Her smile faltered. I'm not sure what you mean. Just thinking about your charity project. The one where you convinced the pizza face charity case, I believe that was the term used in the group chat, that she deserved to feel beautiful, only to stand her up and mock her online afterward. Megan blanched, her knuckles whitening around her champagne flute. Ashley, that was 15 years ago. We were kids. We were 17, I corrected softly. Old enough to know better. Old enough to understand cruelty. I leaned closer, lowering my voice. Old enough to grasp that actions have consequences. Look, I'm sorry if what? I tilted my head. If I found out that your Authentic Beauty brand is built on child labor in Malaysia? That the cruelty-free certification you boast about was obtained through bribery? Or that the all-natural ingredients include compounds banned in the EU for causing severe dermatological reactions? Her face drained of all color. How did you? Information is my business now, Megan. I'm an executive editor at Prism Publishing. We have an investigative journalism division that's quite thorough. I pulled a business card from my clutch and pressed it into her cold hand. My writer has been working on a feature about beauty industry fraud for months. Your company features prominently. The piece runs next week unless we have a reason to reconsider. You can't, this is blackmail, she hissed, eyes darting around to ensure no one was listening. No, it's journalism, I corrected with a smile. But since you mentioned ethical concerns, my nonprofit for teenage victims of bullying could use a significant corporate sponsor. Say, a 5-year commitment? We help kids much like I once was develop confidence and coping strategies. Dairy on brand for Authentic Beauty, I'd think. I could see the calculations running behind her eyes, the cost of sponsorship versus the cost of exposure, the public relations nightmare that awaited either way. You have my card, I said pleasantly. I'll expect your call by Wednesday. Enjoy the reunion. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Megan? Your son is adorable. Connor, right? 5 years old? It would be a shame if he ever felt the way you made others feel. I left her standing there, satisfaction warming my chest more effectively than any alcohol could. One down. My next target was already at the bar. Jason Reynolds, former football star, current investment banker according to LinkedIn, was ordering what appeared to be his third whiskey of the evening. His once athletic frame had softened into the rounded edges of middle age, his hairline making a strategic retreat, but his loud laugh was unchanged. Jason had been different from Megan. While she orchestrated humiliation with precision, he was more of a blunt instrument, shoving me into lockers, knocking books from my hands, loudly commenting on my appearance as I walked past. But his crowning achievement had been Election Day senior year, when I dared to run for student council treasurer against his girlfriend. I had actually been winning, my campaign based on actual financial acumen rather than popularity, until the morning of the vote, when hundreds of flyers appeared throughout the school. They featured a poorly photoshopped image of my face on a naked body, with the caption, "Ashley Wilson will do anything for your vote." I withdrew my candidacy before first period, spent the day hiding in the nurse's office claiming stomach flu, and transferred to the district's alternative school the following week to complete my senior year. I had never discovered who created the flyers, but Jason had been the one distributing them. Laughing uproariously as he handed them out, I sidled up to the bar next to him, ordering another gin and tonic. "Make it two," Jason interjected, flashing me what he clearly thought was a charming smile. "Can't let a beautiful woman drink alone at a reunion. Too depressing." "How gallant," I replied, accepting the drink while making a mental note to leave it untouched. "Jason Reynolds, right? Football star, dated Christy Buchanan senior year?" His chest puffed slightly at the recognition. "The very same. And you are?" His eyes dropped to my name tag, then back to my face, the lack of recognition clear. "Ashley Wilson." Nothing. Not even a flicker. I wasn't surprised. I had been furniture to him, not a person worth remembering. "We had calculus together," I prompted. "You copied my homework every Tuesday while Mr. Levine checked lab equipment." "Wilson. Wilson." He squinted, then snapped his fingers. "Wait, weren't you the one who transferred midway through senior year?" "Yes." Right. He nodded, clearly still not placing me fully. "So what do you do now, Ashley?" "I work in publishing. Executive editor at Prism." I took a performative sip of my drink. "And you? Still in touch with the old football crowd?" "Some of them. Mostly on fantasy football leagues now." He laughed. "I'm in finance. Reynolds Wealth Management, my own firm." "Impressive," I nodded. "Creating something from the ground up takes dedication." "And the right connections," he winked. "Speaking of connections. You seeing anyone? Can't believe someone as gorgeous as you would come to this thing alone." I fought the urge to roll my eyes. "Actually, I'm here with very specific intentions tonight." "Yeah?" His smile turned suggestive. "What kind of intentions?" "Confronting the person who created the pornographic flyers that drove me from school senior year." The flirtatious grin froze on his face. What?" "You remember. When I ran for treasurer against Christie? Someone photoshopped my face onto naked pictures and distributed them throughout school. You were handing them out by the gymnasium." Recognition finally dawned in his eyes, followed quickly by discomfort. "That was you?" "Look, I didn't make those. I was just making sure every student in school saw them." I finished for him. "I know you didn't create them. That would have required technical skills beyond your capacity." He flinched at the dig but rallied quickly. "Look, that was messed up, I admit it. But it was 15 years ago. We were stupid kids." "Yes, we were young," I agreed. Though only one of us was engaging in what would now be classified as revenge porn and sexual harassment. Jason's face darkened. "Now wait a minute, I've waited 15 years, I interrupted coolly. "And in that time I've learned quite a bit about financial regulations and securities law. Enough to recognize certain patterns when I see them." Confusion replaced defensiveness. "What are you talking about?" "Your firm's interesting approach to client retirement accounts. Particularly the way you've been shifting elderly clients' savings into high-risk investments that generate significant commissions for you, regardless of their suitability for the client." The blood drained from his face. "How could you possibly? Your former assistant was very thorough when I interviewed her for a position at my company last month. Apparently, she kept detailed records as insurance before you fired her for performance issues after she questioned your ethics." I smiled thinly. "She didn't get the job with us, but her documentation was enlightening." "That's confidential information, which I've already forwarded to the Securities and Exchange Commission," I finished. "Along with testimony from 3 of your elderly clients who didn't understand why their nest eggs had suddenly decreased by 40%. They were quite upset when I explained the fiduciary responsibility you'd violated." Jason gripped the bar edge, knuckles white. "You crazy bitch. You'll destroy my business, language, Jason, I chided. And your business was destroyed the moment you decided to prey on retirees. I've simply expedited the process. What do you want? He hissed, leaning closer. Money? Is that it? I laughed, the sound genuine. I make more annually than you've embezzled in total. No, I don't want your money. I want you to experience what I did, watching something you've built be destroyed by someone else's cruelty. I picked up my purse. Expect a call from the SEC next week. I'd lawyer up if I were you. I left him at the bar, ordering another whiskey with shaking hands. The evening continued in similar fashion. Bradley Cooper, who'd once loudly suggested I should do everyone a favor and just kill myself already after I'd been partnered with him for a chemistry project, now found his medical practice's history of insurance fraud exposed. Lauren Mitchell, who'd circulated a petition to have me removed from honors classes because looking at her face makes it hard to concentrate, discovered that her husband, seated across the room chatting with former basketball players, had received my detailed documentation of their affair with their children's nanny. One by one, I moved through the crowd, a specter of consequences long delayed. Some cried. Some threatened. Some, to my surprise, offered genuine remorse that almost made me reconsider. By the time I approached the small stage where the DJ was taking a break, my work was nearly complete. The final act required an audience. I tapped the microphone, the feedback cutting through the chatter of the room. Conversations paused as heads turned toward the stage. Good evening, Meadowbrook, I said, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me. For those who don't recognize me, which seems to be most of you, I'm Ashley Wilson, class of 2010. Confused murmurs rippled through the crowd. I could see Megan huddled with two of her friends near the exit, Jason nowhere to be seen, and Bradley Cooper desperately texting on his phone in the corner. I've had such illuminating conversations with many of you tonight, I continued. It's fascinating how few of you remembered me, given how memorable you made my high school experience. The room grew quieter, the discomfort palpable. For those struggling to place me, let me help. I was Pizza Face. Greasy Wilson. The girl Jason Reynolds and his friends placed bets on, $1 for each pimple they counted on my face in the lunch line. I watched several former football players shift uncomfortably. The girl Megan Phillips and her friends invited to a makeover session before spring fling, only to leave me waiting on a porch while they went shopping. The girl who transferred schools after pornographic flyers with my face circulated on election day. The silence was complete now. Even the bartenders had paused in their work. I came here tonight for the same reason many of you did, to see what became of my classmates. To measure the distance between then and now. I looked around the room, meeting eyes that quickly darted away. What I found were people still benefiting from the same cruelty, the same disregard for others, that defined them at 17. Successful careers built on fraud. Marriages sustained through deceit. Reputations constructed on carefully maintained lies. I reached into my purse and removed a small stack of business cards, holding them up. I've given some of you my contact information already, along with specific evidence of your various indiscretions. For the rest, these cards are available at the door. You might want to take one. The next few weeks will be difficult for many of you. The murmuring grew louder, panic beginning to spread. Don't worry, I'm not here to expose anyone's secrets publicly tonight, I assured them, which calmed the room slightly. That would be cruel, wouldn't it? To humiliate someone in front of their peers? To make them feel worthless and exposed? The irony wasn't lost on them, judging by the uncomfortable shifting throughout the room. Instead, I came to say thank you. That caused confusion. Good. They should feel off balance. It was my turn now. Thank you for teaching me resilience. For showing me early that people can smile while wishing you harm. For demonstrating that actions may not have immediate consequences, but delayed ones can be far more devastating. I set the microphone down, the feedback screeching briefly before silence returned. As I stepped off the stage, a path cleared before me, former classmates stepping aside as if my presence was toxic, contagious. At the exit, I turned back for one final look. The reunion that had begun with forced cheer and nostalgia was now a tableau of anxiety. Former tormentors huddled in corners, comparing notes on what I knew and how badly they were compromised. Others were already leaving, phones pressed to ears as they contacted lawyers, spouses, business partners. Outside in the cool night air, I finally took a deep, genuine breath. The weight I'd carried for 15 years, through therapy, through career successes, through rebuilding my sense of self, felt lighter. Not gone, perhaps never gone completely, but manageable now. My phone buzzed with a text from my actual date for the evening, waiting at a restaurant downtown. How did it go? I smiled as I typed my reply, exactly as planned. Picking up my coat now. See you in 20. As the valet brought my car around, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the lobby windows. I looked peaceful. The meticulous plans, the years of tracking my former tormentors, the careful construction of this night, it had served its purpose. Not to make them suffer as I had, no one could return to me what their cruelty had taken. But to balance the scales. To ensure that actions, however distant, met with appropriate consequences. Sometimes the invisible girl sees everything. And remembers, the END.